This is Patrick Colligan, Secretary for the Fair TV Commission, guest hosting the June monthly commissioners meeting. Chairman Alex Vishna will be joining us. I'm joined today by Paula Kokoza, Mark Troyella, and Jerry Spino. I'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
And we will push the chairman's remarks to the side. Mark, are you vice chairman?
That is correct.
Anything to report this month?
Not this month, but I vow I'm going to have something.
Oh, okay, no worries. As secretary, I've sent around May's minutes, so I'd look for a motion to approve them.
So moved.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think I have to abstain because I wasn't at the last meeting. So I don't think I can approve the minutes if I wasn't at the meeting.
But you got them. Is that correct?
If you're not at the meeting, you can't necessarily vote on them.
But she reviewed the minutes.
But I reviewed them, but I wasn't at the meeting, so I have nothing to compare them to. Right.
I see. Oh, I understand. So that makes sense.
That does make
Fair
sense.
enough. Yeah, good call.
So I'm just abstaining over here.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul, and duly noted. I mean, that's a lesson for me. Thank you.
That's
both.
Transparency right there.
You know, at its finest. I did not know that. So duly noted. Okay. And moving forward, that takes us, Jerry, down to you, your production manager report.
Okay. I'm going to start with the Fair TV virtual desk, although I didn't mention it in my notes. As you'll know, we're receiving additional money in the next fiscal year to manage what I call the Fair TV virtual desk, which is the hosting of virtual meetings as well as the archival work of posting the many town meetings that take place every month. We've actually started doing it. We had a little leftover money, and Dave Kelly, who's been a real mensch handling all this since the beginning of the pandemic, I figured, well, it's not much, but we should start doing it anyway because we're going to start in a 3 weeks, and we should get the practice in as far as, procedures and whatnot. And we've had a couple of things. I mean, we hired this guy, Jeff Bortolo, who is actually pretty good. He's pretty much what I would call a digital librarian. He's been in a few times. I've given him a laptop that we had available to take home so he could work remotely, because initially I set up his work schedule to be Wednesdays and Thursdays to come into town hall. And that turned out to be not fruitful because people are looking for those meetings right away. And Dave Kelly was very fastidious about it. He got them up every day, so they got used to it. So he will be responsible to come in or do work on Tuesdays and Thursdays initially, but I've instructed him to check, the WebEx and call-ins and everything daily, just in case there's, an overlog or, just to keep on top of it. We did run into an issue today, actually, with a police commission meeting that kind of got lost in the fray. There's like 6 different platforms that people do these virtual meetings on, everything from audio only to Zoom. And it kind of got lost out there. But he located it. He looked around, and after a little bit of work, he found it, and we got it posted for the party that was looking for it. And so that's coming around, and we're getting some practice at it. And I think, depending on the workflow, we should do okay. The other big item that you might have read was my piece, my desire to kind of be a little proactive with our hardware. We have 5 production machines, I'll call them. They're all NewTek devices. They're basically studios in a box. 3 of them are older versions that they will be discontinuing. They work fine. They do the job. They work really great with the virtual component when we have virtual meetings that we have to carry. They're simple to use. And, one's getting a little weak, but there are 2 that are still running strong, and we'll keep them in play. We have 2 other devices, similar in concept. They're called TriCaster Minis. One is an HD4 SDI, SDI meaning its output capability conforms with our need to broadcast live onto the cable structure only, really. Although we do feed our entire platform with, in conjunction with an encoding device, sends it over to Town Hall to our broadcast rack, and we feed our 2 cable partners, both education and television channels, so that's 4 channels there. And we also support our web stream, which is an education and video, education and government channel there. We get a little better image with the web stream because we convert it back up from a lower format to 1080i. So that looks a little better, especially when people are using these screen sharing and they write little tiny print and whatnot. You really can't read it most of the time on any level. But when they do a proper PowerPoint and work with little larger fonts and whatnot, it works out fine. What I would like to acquire is a machine, and in the letter I sent, I put a link to this type machine on the link that you can check it out. It's called a NewTek TriCaster 410. It's much more of a studio-oriented console than the studio in a box, the Mini and the TriCaster 40 are. It has multiple types of audio inputs, XLR, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch. It has multiple inputs for camera, being SDI or what they call BNC, as well as NDI, which is a database structure that allows us to basically the cameras are given IP addresses. Although we operate, we brought this system, the Mini HD4 SDI, over to the Board of Ed, and we started using it. And we run 2 remotely controlled PZT cameras there in conjunction with a 3rd Sony camera. I'm going to switch that out next week for a 3rd PZT, but they all are run into the system on a local level. They tie into a data terminal, and that data terminal ties into the Mini, and that distributes the various cameras into the system based upon their IP address. So camera 1 is IP XYZ, and camera 2 is IP XYZ, and so forth. And this gives us control remotely for pan, tilt, and zoom, which is a big plus because before we were using fixed cameras and tripods, but they were fixed. You really couldn't do much with the shot, except for one camera that we kept at the operator's console where he could zoom around, move around and be a little more specific with camera and framing. Anyway, back to the 410. So this console device will accommodate one of the things that's still a bit of a mystery to me, and I'm not sure what's happening. I've been trying to find out from the Board of Ed, who's sort of spearheading the Zoom installation design and whatnot. I don't know why they are, but they are. And I haven't gotten a lot of information, except I've learned that initially they said oh, all the cameras will be AI, automatically controlled. They'll find the speaker and zoom in and all this kind of stuff. Not true. None of that's going to happen. They're going to mount the cameras on the wall. And it's going to be basically C-SPAN without the capability of tilt or zoom. So there'll be fixed images from camera angles that are kind of high. It's, you know, anybody who's watched C-SPAN and their forehead and nose shots. You know, so that's what's going to be. However, there has been some talk of expectation that Fair TV will still interface with their structure on a maybe a one camera level that will provide a little more camera profile, so to speak, throughout the course of a meeting by being able to isolate speakers and, you know, better shots of them and whatnot. I don't really know if that's going to happen. So what I'm planning on is that ultimately we will take these Zoom room feeds that the meetings we normally broadcast, the 5 meetings, plus the 2 extra ones that we've been carrying, being the Charter Revision Commission, which actually ends this week, and which probably will pick up again will be the redistricting committee from the RTM, and maybe as well conservation, who's been bugging us to carry them for a long time, and we just didn't have the money. I had a conversation with Mr. Tom Bremer, who's the CAO in the administration's office. And what's happening is in the basement of Town Hall, there was a server room. There is a server room, which has been pared back extensively. It's pretty much just a one rack now in the back part of the room, which will get walled off. And IT will be moving its offices out of the basement and upstairs in the Sullivan Hall building, which leaves a lot of office space that's empty downstairs in the basement. Not to say that Fair TV is going to get first pick or anything, but Mr. Bremer did intimate that the server room area, what will be left of it, could make a very nice television studio, which would be great. We could put this unit in there. We could also put all our other machines in there. We could have a consolidated capture or publishing structure where we could handle our our Board of Ed meetings and our TPC and whatnot and deliver them live. But also we could probably pick up some other meetings throughout the course of the week that we could process and just rebroadcast. Now, we did get extra money to do this to a degree, but I don't think we can go hog wild and pick up the entire 55 meeting complement that remains outside of our initial duties. So the idea is that I am unaware and haven't been informed, and I think the town, and as well as the Board of Ed, because I was having a conversation with an IT gentleman at the Board of Ed the other day, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's really going to happen. But I'm planning for at least the convenience of having a consolidated production situation, which would solve a lot of problems. You don't know how many times I've had to run over from the Board of Ed to Town Hall when the building was locked until they gave me a key a couple of months ago. 11 years without a key, by the way. And now I have a key, and I also have a passcode for the alarm. But, to correct an issue that might be happening at the control rack. We weren't getting live. We weren't, something. So I would love to have that problem solved. We could have all our 2 basic connections to our education and government platforms in the same place. Things can be monitored. I would actually have a TV where I can monitor the broadcast output, which I can't do anywhere. I have to wait and bring it up online. And if it's on the web stream, the assumption is that it's on the broadcast, but that is not always necessarily the case. And so a lot of things it would be more akin to a studio environment for all the things we do, which would be great. What I need in order to maybe help achieve this is the commission to follow up, at least in the beginning, with Mr. Bremer in regard to the conversation he had with me. Because these kinds of things affect our planning. If I'm going to get a grant, it takes us about 10 months to get the money, and then another 3 or 4 months before we can do anything with it because of ordering, or if there's some sort of design work involved or whatever. You can't really, a television station can't really work that way, in the sense of, especially with this kind of large shift that's going on from town hall, where they want all this virtual activity and more meetings covered and our responsibility with archival work, etc. We need to be a little bit ahead of the game. And to know whether or not we could consolidate our operations, so to speak, is kind of important. Because if I need to get money to facilitate that further than where we're at the moment, it's like a hurry up and wait game. Now they're planning on having this Zoom thing together by October. You know, if I'm going to apply for a Cable Advisory Council grant, at least I'm seeking permission tonight, actually, to apply for a Cable Advisory Council grant to get this piece of equipment and hold it in reserve. It always can be used at some point. Although it is designed to be rack mounted, it can be moved around. If we had to do an event somewhere, it would give us a lot greater capability than the little minis do, although the minis can do the job, or the 40s. But this would be a far more proficient device. I am required to get 3 bids. I have 2. One from Digitech in North Carolina, where we bought the older TriCaster 40Z from. He's a good guy. He's given me a good price. He will take a trade-in on one of the old TriCasters, so we can get the device that we want to buy for around $9,400. I got another quote from B&H, which is about another couple of grand more. I'm not looking at the quote, but it's about, I'm not sure whether I sent you guys the quote. I might have, but, and then HB Communications, who helped us build our production rack. I spoke to him a couple of weeks back. He got back to me again and again, and he's getting together with his team to figure out what sort of, beyond the purchase of the equipment, what sort of labor is involved and whatnot, if we were to mount it and, set it in place. I told him, I said, we don't necessarily want to do that, but it would be good to have those numbers in case we do want to do that. In which case, we're obligated to go with a lower bid, but in the past, when things like this require engineering and whatnot, I don't get any engineering really from B&H. And the gentleman in Digitech is willing to give us some support, but it's not like having a tech come in and putting it together. So I'm just waiting on that HB bid. And if you give me permission to go ahead, once I get that, I'll submit it to the town. Actually has to approve the grant. Then it goes to purchasing, where they verify the bids. And then it goes to the CFO's office, where he says okay or not. So that's where I'm at. That's the story on this piece of equipment. Does anybody have any questions?
Alex just joined us. I see. I think. You're muted,
I did
Alex.
have this.
Yeah, hey everybody, how are you?
Good.
Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Jerry just wrapped up, given the rundown that I guess you and he may have gone over. Jerry, just let us know how we can follow up with Mr. Bremer. What's his first name? I mean, is it appropriate to
Tom Bremer?
What?
Thomas Bremer. Tom Bremer he goes by, and I can send you contact information.
Okay. So Jerry just wrapped, Alex. Good to have you aboard. Do you have a chairman's report to add to the top of the?
Not too much to report except for one minor or not so minor thing, which is that thank you, by the way, for getting the meeting going without me here. Sorry, let me get my camera on. Hi, can you guys see me now?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys. So my term is up next month, and I'm not going to be continuing with Fair TV following my term. So you guys will have to, you know, shake it up for who's going to step in as chair and so on and so forth. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. You've got time to figure that out, but that's that would be the new business that I have to report. Other than that, I did speak with Jerry about the equipment, gave him the go ahead to you know, work with HB to go ahead and get a couple of pieces of gear fixed that are having some problems that we discussed, and I believe he may have already told you guys about that. And then, you know, he's filling you in on the grant and the piece of equipment that he wants to get. I think it's not a bad idea. I'm not sure everything that he filled everybody in on, but I think the main point is that there's no other specific need at this moment that this grant is potentially appropriate for. But this is a great opportunity to sort of look to the future and hopefully receive the benefits of the grant to do that with this piece of gear. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like a good idea. Certainly, you know, if you get this piece of gear, then the next step will be like using it and putting it into action and doing the interviews and doing the green screen stuff and kind of like opening up the door to some interesting new content for Fair TV. So that's that. And then one other thing, I did get a request that Jerry, if you just take a look at the slides that go up in between meetings, there's some old stuff up there that's like relevant to wearing masks and all of that kind of stuff. If you could just check that out and make sure that it's updated so that it reflects the times, that would be great.
Okay, my only question about that is that what do you want to do? Do you want me to discontinue the mask things or what?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't want to be quoted here for policy of the town because I'm not a policy maker, but as I understand it, the town is not, you know, encouraging mask use at this time where they're following the CDC. And there's a bunch of stuff up there that says mask up and, you know, that kind of stuff. So yes, I would say take off the stuff. Sorry?
Okay, well, I'm all for supporting the town's interests and whatnot. And we do have a relationship with the town, but in general, Fair TV is its own entity, you know? And I mean, again, I'm not trying to be adversarial or anything here, but, you know, we can put up things we want to put up. But again, I'm not trying to be adversarial. And, you know, I would say that, yeah, okay, there might be an overkill on the mask information, but I would suggest maybe just leave it one up, you know, reminding people that it's still in all. This is, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a mask in your pocket or something, you know what I mean? But again, I will do whatever you guys want me to. And if you want me to discontinue the mask stuff, we'll find some new stuff. And that's all there is to that.
I think that at this point, in my opinion, the mask stuff that was up there is, you know, kind of old. The do your part stuff is like 2 years old. You know, I'd like to think that we've moved into hopefully a new era, though we may find ourselves, you know, taking a step back. Who knows what the future will bring. So I for one, am a fan of, yeah, take the mask stuff off.
Okay.
Certainly up for debate if everybody wants to debate it, but, you know, does anybody want to vote on this or just do we need to vote on this?
Nope.
I don't know if we need to vote on it. I mean, I think that you're right, Alex. I think it seems dated. And unless, I mean, I think if the town had a mask mandate, that would be one thing, but without that in place, I don't think it.
Okay, we'll take it down.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thanks for understanding.
No, it's not my choice. It's not ultimately up to me. I mean, yes, I did it because I think that, but you know, I'm not the only entity here. And
I think that listen, you know, it's one of these things where when, in my opinion, when masks become important, if they become important again, then we'll be able to put that stuff, or Fair TV, the commission will be able to look at that critically and decide, and then it'll have more meaning than if it's just been up for 3 years, you know? So I think
okay, well, I didn't want to take them down, you know, just to take them down. So you know, I'm glad to have this direction from the commission, and we'll deal with it tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you very much, Jerry. And I would say any cool, relevant town stuff that you can have, like get your beach passes, you know, stuff like that is obviously relevant at this time, and you know, might be cool. But you've always done a great job at kind of like, you know, handling this stuff. So just, you know, that was the feedback I got, and I agree with it. So.
Well, let me see what I'll solicit the Parks Department and see what they want to send me. Because I don't want to, you know, I like for the departments, if they want some information just on screen, that for them to send it to me, because I don't really want to misstate anything or whatever. So let me send out some flyers and see if some people got some stuff, and I'll put it up there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Great. Takes us to item 5, good of the order. Anything for the good of the order, or unfinished business, rather, was item 4. Unfinished business, Alex, I think, or Apollo.
Yeah, I have unfinished business. So I've reached out to Greg, and he's still editing the piece. So I just got an email back from him tonight. So I will circle back with him and see if he has an ETA on when it will be finished for us to review and to get on our air.
Awesome. Does he have any idea on running time?
No, sorry, Jerry, I don't.
I'm just curious, that's all.
Sorry to skip over. Thank you for that.
That is something that, you know, if and when that piece is finished, and if that happens, you know, when I'm no longer with the commission, I'd love for you guys to give me a shout out. Let me know. I'd love to check it out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Say again, Alex, when your term is up.
It's all I know is it's up in July 2022. So I don't know if that means it's up before the next meeting, or if the next meeting would be my last meeting.
Actually, Alex, usually they've structured these terms to end with the fiscal year.
When's the fiscal year?
So at the end of June 30, theoretically, at least as far as I understand it, you would not be, you know, your term would end.
Okay.
You're gonna have to turn in your badge, brother.
Yeah.
Do I have to like give you my like editing tools and like and Fair TV? You know, no. Thank you, Jerry. So yeah, I guess then this would be my farewell meeting. So you know, but that said, I've really enjoyed it, and getting to know you guys has been really interesting. And then I'd love to actually meet one day. That would have been really cool. You know, so it doesn't have to end here. I'm still gonna live in Fairfield, not go anywhere. So.
Well, now, Alex, you can make content for Fair TV.
Oh, well, you know what? I'd be happy to. You know, if the opportunity comes up, you know where to find me.
Why don't you go down to the beach one day and make us a little shorty down there or something?
Last time I put something on Fair TV, it ruffled a lot of feathers. So.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm just go down to the beach and say hello to some people. Ask them if they're having fun or whatever.
All right. I'll sneak it in between the 7 shoots that I did this week and see where we can get.
I'd like to thank Alex for his service, his time, his efforts to the commission, to the community, to attempts to try to get the organization and the station to do some things a little bit beyond what it has been doing all along, and hopefully we can keep moving in that direction, Alex, in that spirit. But it's been a pleasure getting to know you as well. look forward to playing some golf at some point. And we will carry on. All right.
Well said.
Do not go silent into that night, you know. Or no, thank you very much. What I will say, just as I know I kind of jumped in and kind of interrupted the flow of the meeting. So is there some stuff that needed to be discussed that I kind of messed up here? With respect to Jerry, I don't know if a vote has happened on the grant for the piece of gear that Jerry was telling everybody about that I was briefed on before the meeting. Is that something that you guys feel ready to vote on? Does that need more discussion?
If it needs a vote, we're happy to vote. Jerry, do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, because I need to have that in the minutes, and then I would have to have an authorization from Alex or who's ever the chief, the head officer at the time.
Well, let's
for
do
the
that.
paperwork.
How does the motion need to read? What's the motion?
Go ahead, Jerry.
That to pursue a grant from the Cable Advisory Council from Area 2 to purchase production equipment valued at approximately $10,000.
So moved.
I'll second that.
And running the meeting, all in favor? Aye.
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 That's a unanimous pass, Jerry, and that'll be in the minutes, which I'll include in the June minutes. So is there anything else open? Thank you for that, Alex. I appreciate it. That wasn't clear.
The only other thing I would ask is that I've been set on a monthly basis. I send my invoices for my freelance labor to Alex or the president or the chair for authorization. I would need to know who to start sending those to.
We're gonna have to come back to you with that one.
I think you guys have to do an election or something. But Alex,
You're muted, Alex. You trying to say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My bad. I would say that, Jerry, so I might suggest that you all, if I may, do what do you call it?
Interim. Interim.
Do an election next month at the meeting. And I would suggest that until that time, Vice Chair, Jerry, does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Yeah, that would work. I mean, you'll still be chair until the end of the month, and I probably would be sending you a batch of invoices and whatnot as of the last week of the month, which you could, legitimately authorize. And
That's
then
fine.
in July, when they have the elections, I could follow up in that same regard to the next chair.
Sure. So, and just to let everybody know what these invoices are is basically, it's number one, Jerry's monthly fee, which is, like direct representation of his annual contract, just broken down monthly. Correct, Jerry?
Yes.
And then the next piece, so that there's that invoice, and then the next is just the staff that Jerry has working different, events, filming, editing, what have you, and they usually send over to Jerry like an actual invoice, and then Jerry, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze here. I think it went away. And then Jerry will has put that invoice detail into like a more formal format, which is the one that I sign, and then it gets sent from me to Dave Kelly from IT and Jerry, so they all have the signed copies, and then Dave Kelly from IT is able to, I guess, submit that. And Jerry was great at kind of giving me the, the rundown of here's what I need you to do. It's not hard. It's just a matter of like, that system of checks and balances, I suppose, that government,
Yeah, Dave Kelly, the director of IT, he handles basically our books. He has they don't let just anybody. The town utilizes a statewide system called Munis, and they don't let just anybody have access to it. And that one of those anybody's is me. So Dave works with the Munis, and he enters all the information and whatnot, and that makes that, you know, puts it in the books for the town, because the town does handle all our checks and whatnot. And then they go upstairs and, you know, they get processed for payment. And the forms that I provide Alex with is the contractors, the freelance contractors invoice, and what I call a vendor detail, which is basically a sheet that, as Alex said, formalizes it, and it's a consistent sheet. It's not real fancy or anything, but it breaks down the individual, their vendor number, their invoice number, what they did for us, and then it has a lower lines of where the various authorization parties sign off on. And that's always the same. The various individuals' invoices look different, but the vendor detail is always the same sheet. Just so you know.
Thank you, Jerry. Yep. And does anybody have any questions about, like, you know, do we need to go over any other business? Does anybody have any questions about, like, what I've been up to as chair in addition to this? Well, there's been a lot, you know, let me tell you. No, no, really, it's generally kind of being there when Jerry needs something. So sometimes things come up, you know, between meetings, and, you know, so we'll have a call and just discuss, like, for example, like the gear that was malfunctioning that he's talking to HB, and just kind of like make a decision. You know, it's not that hard. It's just helping make a decision about that kind of stuff, and being available for things that come up. I mean, again, Jerry's out there on the sort of front line, if you will, doing the work for Fair TV. And when things come up, he'll let me know. For example, there was an audio, I believe there was like an audio dropout or something happened in a particular...
There's a glitch in the system when we changed over to this new device, this new Mini, going from the older format. There's a small interference that needs to be corrected. We can still broadcast with it. It's not cumbersome or, you know, overtly prevalent. So, you know, we can still broadcast and whatnot, but it does need to be addressed, and it's something that's either in the way the encoder is set up internally, or as the information that's encoded from the production location is received at the broadcast hub in Town Hall, where there's a series of converters that prepare the signal to go to the cable companies and our web stream. So HB was the one who designed the flow of all these, so they're the obvious people to contact to troubleshoot it, and hopefully it's a simple repair with it at the encoder with a simple reprogramming, or at the broadcast hub with the flow to the cable structure via the converters that feed that source. Again, perhaps just a simple resetting of the device. Our big problem is that we use two different eras of machinery to put out our content, so we have to balance between the older TriCaster and newer TriCasters that we use, and that's probably the biggest hurdle. But I did talk to Alex. I set up a support visit with HB. It's a $500 PO, but we will build only against the time that it takes to correct it. But that is in process, and hopefully next week we can take care of it. The following week is the Board of Selectmen's deliberations on the charter revision, and I don't really want to interfere with that, working on the rack. So if they can't get it done next week, we'll have to move it out to July. But that's not a problem. I'm going to make sure that the purchase order holds up into the next fiscal year, which it should.
Okay. Also, and with respect, thank you, Jerry. And with respect to that, there was something happened in one particular meeting where something didn't work. And so Jerry just let me know, because he was in touch with somebody from that respective, board or commission who had some concerns. And it's just sort of like, listen, you know, kind of being there to make sure we're on board, we know what's going on. That's it. So, you know, that's pretty much the scoop. And then the last thing I think was, you know, when budget season was here, going to the budget meetings in town hall with the first selectwoman and her staff, and you know, kind of going over our budget needs for the year. It was, you know, I thought it was an interesting experience, and you know, I hadn't been in that kind of a meeting before with the town, so I thought it was really interesting. And you know, talked about what we need, what we're doing, what they're looking for, and so on. That's it. All the stuff that you guys know is going on in the commission has been discussed in all the meetings. So that's it. So, you know, if and when one of you all becomes our next chair, the Fair TV's next chairman, if you have any more questions, you know, I'm here anytime. So. Cool.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys have it?